מה קורה אלופים כאן, פיניק, ואנחנו ממשיכים לשחק בביושוק. אני ראיתי, רשמתם מלא תגובות, בוא תשחק בראסט, תשחק בזה. אני אשחק בראסט, אני מבטיח. אני רשמתי לכם גם את זה. ניסיתי לעשות איזה סרטון 2, אני לא יודע, אבל הבנדיקאם, זאת התוכנה שאני מקליט איתה, לא רוצה פשוט לעבוד עם ראסט. אני לא יודע מה הבעיה. ותודה רבה על הבאנרים. מה זה היה שם? או, חזקים, אה? בוא, שנייה, הופ. אמיגו, מוצ'אצ'ו. מה זה? מה זה? החלפתי באנר, שתי סאבים שלחו לי שתי באנרים חברים, אז אני אשים כל באנר לשבוע. אני מבקש שתגיבו על זה, תרשמו בתגובות מה אתם חושבים על זה, ותודה אישית ממני על הבאנרים, אני אהבתי מאוד. בואו נמשיך. משחק הזה עושה לי בעיות גם, אני לא מבין, זה משחק מקורי מסטים, הוא יוצא כל הזמן, וזה מאוד קשה לשחק ככה, כי בבנדיקאם, כפי שאתם יודעים, שאם המשחק או שיצא או קרס, זהו, הלך המשחק. כל מה שהקלטתם, הופה, סבבה, עוד -1. עכשיו אנחנו צריכים, בואו נעבור פה, נראה איפה עוד לא היינו. פה נראה לי כבר ראה או לא. זה לא בעיה, זה נעשה את זה בזריז. יופי. בינתיים אולי נקנה קצת חיים, למה אתם רואים בעצמכם. טוב, אז הייתי פה כבר, אז אני יודע שאני צריך ללכת למקום אחר, איפה שמראה החץ, אבל יש פה עוד מישהו, אז הופה. יאללה ג'וני, כנס לשם. לך תהרוג אותה. טוב, פה לא צריכים לעשות כלום, יאללה. וחוזרים. או, שלום. להחליף מהר. מהר, מחליפים. מיסטר בבלס. בואי דקה, בואי. הכל בסדר חמודה, לא לדאוג. או. בכיף, בכיף. החלמה מהירה ותרגישי טוב. בקיצור, חבר'ה, למה נצרם אותה? טוב, נמשיך. תשמע על עצמך ודש לשאר החיות. נשארה לנו פה עוד אחת. יופי. טוב, אין לי פה חיים. יש לי 4 פעמים אני יכול לחדש את החיים שלי, יש לי רק פעמיים, יש לי רק 2. מה זה פה? יופי. טוב, שם אין כלום. זה אנחנו מנהים. יאללה, בואו נלך לפי החץ ונראה מה אפשר לעשות בהמשך. יאללה, איפה בורחים? לפה. מה זה פה? מפה באתי, אני זוכר. שלום. מה זה? אוקיי. פלזמית סלוט. סבבה, אנחנו יכולים לפה. מה נכניס לפה? בואו נכניס את זה. טלקינזיס, חבר'ה, טלקינזיס. בואו ניקח עוד סלוט אחד. נכניס לפה. לקרוא ביג דדיס, למיסטר בבלס. סבבה. בואו נקנה. אי אפשר לקנות עוד סלוט? איזה באסה. יש לי 160. You can now carry more even body. אוקיי, יש לי עוד 60. Target casually attack someone other than you. Sonic boom. עוד 40 יש לנו. טוב, בואו נשמור את זה מה זה? זה צריך. איפה היא? איפה את? כל היום אני חושב עלייך, איפה? אופה. בוא'נה, היא ממש חזקה. רוצה למות? יוי, בוא'נה. היא חזקה כמו ביג דדי. בואי דקה, בואי. מה? איך חזרו לחיים? אפשר לדעת? בבקשה? טוב, אין לי כוח עליה. בואי. יופי, סוף סוף, בואנה. תשמעו, יש לה... סלאפיס. דפוק, לא נורמלי. מה יש לנו פה? יש לנו פה דג. דג נחש. שלום, זה היה חסר לי. יאללה. שלום חבר חדש, עכשיו אתה שלי. לא, טוב. בוא'נה, מאיפה באים הדגים האלה? אני לא מבין. יאללה, בואו נלך לפה. בואו נקנה... הנה, יש פה קיוסק, חבר'ה, יש פה קיוסק, יש פה פיצוצייה. בואו נלך לפיצוצייה ונביא איזה משהו. מתוק, חריף מתוק. סבבה. first aid, יש לי כמה? יש לי 9. נביא אולי כזה. סבבה. יא קבב. עכשיו באים... רושם שנשארה לי עוד ליטל סיסטר אחת פה, ולא מצאתי אותה, אז אני ממש מתנצל חבר'ה, כי באמת שלא מצאתי אותה. באמת לא מצאתי אותה. שלום. יפתח לבב.
You got something from me and my crew? Or are you just looking to get criticized? You set here a spell. I needs to set on some coffee. Maybe put on silverware and the like.
יאללה, אל תבלבל את ה... הבנתם. פתח. אל תדאג ג'וני. נו באמת, מה אני חייב... יואו, אני שם את כל הנשקים שלי פה, מה אני אעשה? אוי, באמת, תודה רבה. וואו, 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 וואו. היי, 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 היי. Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Fontaine. I have hold you a spot. Ryan promised Fontaine was dust, and now you are doing his dirty. I guess that
בוא'נה, לא נורמלי, משוגע. למה אתה עושה לי את זה? למה אתה עושה את זה? לא טוב לי. סבבה, טוב, בינתיים לא צריכים כלום, כי אני לא יודע מה יהיה פה. הופ, 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 מצלמה. מי זה? סליחה, הופה, שלום. שלום. או! הנשקים שלי, לא 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 לא. כן, בטח, עכשיו יחזירו לי אותם. הופה. בינתיים לא צריך. מה יש לנו פה? זה אני צריך, סבבה. טוב, בואו נחפש, אולי נמצא משהו מעניין, אני לא בטוח כן בזה, אבל עדיין. זה שם. מה קרה חמוד? זהו? או מה זה, טונה? די כבר, די לראות עליי, מה יש לכם? אתם חכמים וחזקים כשאין לי נשק, אה? שיט 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 שיט. תן לו, תן לו. בוא'נה, אין פה כלום, אה? הופה, מה יש פה? Let's check this. או, שלום. money. מה זה הדבר הזה? אנטי משהו, לא משנה, אנטי פסטי. יופי. סבבה. מה יש לך אתה? הנה הנשקים שלי, רגע. הנה הנשקים שלי, חבר'ה. כן. כן. איי, יאללה. נרד למטה שנייה. הופה, עוד מצאנו משהו. מינוס. כן, בוא. לך?
Fontaine's putting the screws on us and double. He's squeezing us out of 80 points of our cut with the threat of turning us into Ryan if we don't play ball. Son of a bitch.
לא טוב, מהר.
Going to the constable. And the next day, Sammy G was found in a sack in a salt pond. We had no choice here. We stay on Fontaine's crew and we're gonna catch the gallows. We take a powder. We end up like Sammy G. Oh, there's gotta be another way.
או. טוב. מה לך? או, ג'ובו, יופי. מה יש לנו פה הלאה? או. מה זה? אתה לא יכול לצאת. פנטיין ימצא אותך. שילך ל... פנטיין אותך. הבנתם, אני לא יודע. Golden film reels, you unlock play film.
One of the biggest challenges Irrational faced when developing Bioshock was figuring out a way to retain the feeling of a deep RPG while making the game accessible to a broader console audience.
Wow, מה זה הנשק הזה?
The team succeeded in creating an intricate system of weapon and character upgrades that gave the player choice and customization while keeping the gameplay fast, lean, and engaging.
וואו, חבר'ה, מה זה? Wow.
One of the hallmarks of Bioshock, to me at least, was that it really blended RPG and sort of first-person action game together in a way that, you know, is sort of standard today, but a decade ago was really pretty revolutionary. And I know for the team, I think at some point it became clear that you wanted this to work on consoles, not on PC, right?
Oh, both, yeah.
Yeah. But so the idea of, you know, doing a console game and a PC game and doing something that sort of felt like a shooter but had much more depth. And I know in some of the early design docs you talked about sort of creating an FPS plus versus an RPG light. What was the difference in your mind between those two?
I think for us is the big difference between System Shock and Bioshock ended up being that System Shock was more about your character growth and Bioshock was more about the environment. Because with System Shock, we really didn't have System Shock 2. We didn't really have either our team to make enough assets or the visual power to sort of make a really convincing environment. But as we started working on Bioshock, the art team was so strong that the ability to tell a story within the environment became the most important thing about the game. And that was sort of not something we thought right at the beginning. That was not really what we had. But as we started building things, we could realize that the visual world was the star of this thing. That Rapture was really the star of this thing. And telling the story outside of cutscenes, telling it in the world, so the gamer could discover the story rather than us telling him the story, telling him or her the story. And it was still very much for the time, I think for the time, quite different than what you had seen in terms of there wasn't a lot of growth in shooters. So it was still, I think, for the time, very, very revolutionary. But I think System Shock 2 was even more ahead of its time in terms of that growth thing, because we defocused a little bit. Primarily, part of it was just figuring out how to do that all on a console controller was very tricky.
No, I remember even the early demos, people like, you know, you see a plasma, you see like a upgraded weapon, people are like, oh, I've never seen that before in a shooter. And that was, you know, when you were coming out of the sort of, you know, the Quake, Doom, Half-Life, where it's like you have, you know, 8 weapons on the keyboard, and you sort of knew what they were and they weren't going to change. Sean, was that something that, you know, from a sort of creative standpoint, was it always clear that that was something you guys wanted to do, or it evolved over time because you wanted to have more depth in the game?
I mean, it certainly evolved over time, and each, you know, upgrade path was slightly, you know, had its own unique challenges. Like certainly upgrading the weapons, you had to design a base weapon.
זה המפתחים של המשחק.
Still felt like something that you wanted to use, but then the ability to add the upgrades to that, and each of the upgrades could come in any order, so you have to be aware that this, you know, parts A, B, and C could come in at any different time to upgrade the weapon. In a first-person shooter, that's your star. That's the thing that you're seeing all the time. when it comes to other things, plasmids, things that are, you know... Tonics, yes, sorry. It's been a while.
Come on, Sean.
I know, it's 10 years. Those things were more offloaded to machines that you then have to interact with, so you're not carrying the inventory around with you. But each of these decisions on, you know, how we're going to upgrade the player, you know, it wasn't like a mouse and keyboard, okay, we can just use the mouse and you have all these buttons at your disposal.
You could arbitrarily point at a part of the screen really easily, which you could do in System Shock too.
Yeah, so we certainly, you know, learned trial by fire when we were trying to adapt these things to the console at the time.
Yeah, and like having, you know, different ammo types and stuff like that. Like we went through.
אם הייתי שם הייתי אומר להם חבר'ה כמה באגים יש במשחק, למה הוא כל הזמן קורס, למה?
It's very obtuse and very tricky to get your head around, and we just kept working on it and working on it and working on it because you want to feel like second nature. But that was, we spent a lot of time on that.
What motivated the idea of having so much choice in the way you could sort of play through this game? What was it to, you know, give the player a better sense of authorship over the experience, or what was driving that?
I've always liked the idea of giving the player a lot of agency in terms of their play style and experimenting with the play style and trying different things and seeing what worked and didn't work and interacting with the environment. The notion that it's sort of a playground that you get to play around with and imprint your own desire on was great, because I think we were more skeptical about being able to do that with story at the time. In fact, so much to the point where that became almost like a joke. You know, that becomes the meta joke of the game of how little agency you have in your story. But agency in terms of how you play the experience and how you load out your weapons and how you interact with the environment, as compared to most shooters at the time, where basically like you can shoot them with the shotgun or shoot them with the, you know, the pistol. That was really important to us. So we spent a lot of time trying to make the game, the world, react in a way that you would expect and hope it to react when you tried something.
Right. And some of those system or decisions we made about systems fed back into the narrative, like locking Adam behind Big Daddy and the little sister. Like you can't get Adam unless you deal with the Big Daddy, which then becomes a roving boss fight, which then becomes another system that I don't know if we planned that from the start or was one of those happy, like, you know, serendipity, like, oh, this decision that we made about putting Adam behind the Big Daddy totally works because now we have a different type of boss fight that you hadn't really seen in other games.
Actually, it was the other way, because what happened was originally there was no concept of Adam, and Big Daddy just had money and other treasure on them, like every other splicer. Yeah. And they were so tough, nobody would ever fight them, because why on earth would you go after that guy?
Right, go off a bunch of small splicers and get the same amount, yeah.
So we had to come up with a currency that was exclusive to them, because we knew that was where the fun was, right? But we also knew people were terrified of them and we didn't want to fight them.
Yeah.
So video game development and system development is a lot like economics, right? You know, in economics you try to encourage certain behaviors through tax, usually through tax policy. You know, well, you want business growth, so you lower taxes on certain segments of the business economy, or you want to encourage, you know, people to move into this area, so you make incentives to move in here. We had to make an incentive for players to fight the Big Daddy, and Adam became that incentive. And then once you had this Adam, then you had a new piece of narrative, which they could then incorporate back into the story.
Yeah. Taste the Adam fucking drink.
Stay away from her, or it is you who will be shot next.
Easy now, Doctor. He's just looking for a wee bit of Adam. Just enough to get by.
I'll not have him hurt my little ones.
Talk a bit about the
וואלה, עכשיו זה נראה לי חצי שעה, לא שעה? מקווה ש...
I guess what is kind of a tech tree, but you know, and coming from PC games, you know, used to strategy games and whatnot with very complicated ways of how you would upgrade things. I thought you guys did you had a really interesting approach to how you made it very accessible to a console audience. How did that evolve? Did you know the vending machines were going to be there from the get-go?
Well, we had vending machines in System Shock 2, so we were sort of lifting that, and I always thought that was a fun, notion to, because it's a affordance that people already understand. You know, they see a vending machine, they know immediately, oh, that's where I buy stuff, right? Yeah. And you also then have to have a shopkeep. When we talked about wanting to make things, put limitations on ourselves so things felt fully believable, we had a shopkeeper sitting
זה מעניין, כן. זה ברור שזה מעניין.
He doesn't say anything. And all of a sudden he feels fake. Where a vending machine, the Circus of Values machine, could feel 100% authentic, you know, despite the fact that it's selling like ammo and stuff like that, you know, which is, you
But
know,
in an objectivist society where you don't have rules and regulations
Right.
on
You
that
have
type of
that's
thing,
allowed.
it feeds back into the narrative.
but you don't then break the fiction at all by having these characters who sort of don't really live and breathe in the world. So the vending machines became an important part of that, but we still want to give them character, and hence the, you know, and so that clown image came from a piece of, that image is actually from like a fruit container or something from like the 1940s.
Okay.
And so we had a book of like royalty-free images, and I saw that image, and I'm like, let's put that clown on it, and we'll call it Circus of Values, and then, you know, we wrote lines for it, decided he'd be this sort of asshole clown, and then we hired the best actor in the world to play that part. That was me. What I cost, my biggest Avengers, I didn't cost anything.
I didn't know you were really.
I was a clown. No, it's a clown.
I hear it in my head every night.
My wife hates that voice. She hates that voice.
You can give us a little of it right here.
Welcome to the Circus of Values. She does not allow me to do that, so I'll do it outside of the house.
Okay.
But it allowed us to have something that felt very rich and very real while being very limited at the same time.
חשבתי זה אני משחק.
And also, you know, the plasma, sort of the motif of sort of the videos and how you explain sort of what a plasma was. That was a really fun way, I thought, to sort of explain that. Sean, how did you guys evolve that? Because it was very artistic approach.
I think those came on pretty late too, because we were developing all these systems, and you make the assumptions because you're dealing with them every day that the player who gets this game is going to understand what these systems are. And we always joke that you can't ship a developer with a game, or you can't expect somebody to have a README file for all these things. Nobody's understanding what these plasmids are or how to use them. How do we present these to the audience in such a way that they're going to understand what it is fictionally and what it is functionally? It feels Rob Waters did a lot of the animations on those, and we sit down and we write out like a little 30-second commercial of what this thing is. And again, because going back to the narrative, this is what would happen in Rapture. People are trying to sell these things, so they would come up with commercials to explain why you need this. Using that as your framework, you can then come up with all of these little gags that people will remember that have a little personality to them. But I think ultimately in the end weren't that expensive to create, because they're cheap.
I think that one of the most important things about it is we didn't want them to be long, and we didn't have a lot of budget for the arts. We had like a couple of frames of animation in them essentially. And so we had to figure out how do we message how this thing works in like that. And that's what marketing is, right? It's how do you message how something works. And marketing and tutorializing are very similar things, right? You're trying to get a message across in a very brief period of time in a very snappy fashion. And I think that one of the things that I always felt about games is that tutorials are sort of death. And because they're usually like, you go into a scene and there's like a shooting range or something like that, and
narratively they never really make sense either.
And they're so boring. And so we always try to put a big burden on ourselves of how do we train people while not letting them know they're being trained, and brevity is really important to that. So we had a bunch of art constraints in that, which also led to a bunch of writing constraints. And so those things were like, I don't even know if they were 30 seconds.
Yeah, they were
really short. Yeah, 15 seconds long. We had to explain a whole plasmid in that period of time, and I think that was a good exercise because it also made the game, it forced us to be concise and to really explain what this thing was like that.
Throw objects at foes. You can even catch grenades and throw them back.
בוא'נה, אהבתם את הסרט חברים? בואו נראה אותו עוד פעם? סתם. בקיצור, אני חושב שפה אני רוצה לסיים. אני מקווה שאהבתם את הפרק הזה ואת הסרט, כי מצאנו פה איזה משהו מעניין. אז יש פה עוד סרט, לא זה לא זה. אז אני מודה לכם על הכל, על התגובות, על הלייקים שלכם, על השיתוף. לא לשכוח לשתף את הסרטונים, לעשות לייקים, וכמובן להירשם לערוץ מי שעוד לא נרשם. אני הייתי פיניק, אוהב אתכם, ביי לכולם.